You checking out One Dish, One Mic on, I don't know, some network or channel or somewhere. You're watching us somewhere. We are, Sean Vanderklis and Karl are making a video to our detriment. This is actually harmful for us to talk about Trump and ICE and the border. You and I both have family that we don't have the luxury of not crossing the border. We have family that are on the other side of the imaginary line. Even calling it an imaginary line, I'm like, holy hell, is ICE gonna listen to this? Is the border people, they're like, I know border guards, border guards, like, we grew up in a border community. Like, they're not super cops, I think, or they are now. Like, they have to be. I don't even, again, it's a messy situation, but I also think that we have to talk about it. AFN put out a notice warning people to have proper documentation when they cross the border. You have some experience dealing with the J Treaty. I did reach out to AFN. I couldn't get a hold of anybody. I just reached through their general media inquiry line, and I was hoping to talk to an expert. Notwithstanding that, you get Sean and Karl.
We're not experts. We're just geographically close to the border.
Well, but that is kind of the thing, is that, it's respectfully, and not to diss AFN for the 400th time, but somebody from Ottawa, issued a release, and then you got all of social media that has all kinds of comments. I'm seeing people's like without naming names, I'm seeing people giving accounts of like things have shifted. Things have really fundamentally shifted. And I just thought, living in Niagara, having strong ties to Western New York, ties, across the river, not too far from here, I sort of thought we'd be immune to it. I just figured, okay, like, basically Fort Erie and Buffalo have always been pretty united. The two Niagara Fallses have always been pretty united. And I don't want to be alarmist, but I think things have actually changed.
I mean, time will tell. All the posts I've seen so far have been generic in nature. One post mentioned that they were flying and then got stopped off in Texas. And then another post was about a person who was further west coast, so somewhere like Alberta or something to that effect. So I guess time will tell. Like, I think it's fair to say that the Haudenosaunee and the Indian Defense League of America have done a fantastic job in this area, specifically educating and informing the American customs agents, Homeland Security, because it seems like we have a pretty good path to cross. I have yet to put this theory to the test. I will actually next week. So next week I'm driving down to Virginia. So me and 3 native guys are going to be driving down to Virginia. It'll be interesting to see what happens, because, well, I'm a little crazy and they're all crazy, and we're all native. So it'll be fun to see what happens. But it's scary times. It's scary times. When we talk about the J Treaty, like, so historically, when we cross a river, like, Karl, you use your status card. I use my status card. Most people use their status cards. The J Treaty is actually pretty specific. It says that you have to have a blood quantum letter. And that blood quantum letter says that you have to be at least 50% Indian or North American Indian. And again, like, in living in the Niagara region, customs has been relatively good. Like, my son passes on his status card. I pass on my status card. I've never had to get I had to get my blood quantum once to get him his social security number in the States. But other than that, I've never needed it. Now I'm happy that I got it, because are they going to let me cross over? I don't know. We'll find out.
I don't have it. I'm not getting it. I am expecting to be able to assert my sovereignty and cross. As always, I recognize that I have a certain amount of privilege in that. I just think it's easier for guys in general. Like, we're not made to be vulnerable in all the ways that Indigenous women, Two-Spirit, trans, Indigenous people are made to be vulnerable. So I do want to acknowledge the privilege that I have, but also, to be clear, I'm not giving the letter. I have documentation that's issued by my own people, and through Indian Affairs, but it's still accepted as being through my own people. I have my status card, and that the nature of the J Treaty is that it is a nation to nation relationship, and that Canada doesn't honor it is a whole nother layer of disrespectful. And I mean, there, you know, we've already done, you can go and check out our video on Carney, our posts about Carney, and you know, this whole beautiful story that he's weaving about Quebec and England, you know, making friends and making Canada or whatever kind of BS he is misrepresenting here. But crossing the border for me is a matter of asserting sovereignty, but also it's a fine line, because I don't want to send people into a situation of unnecessary risk. And the threat is real. And again, to go back to this video, the fact that we're making a video on social media and that border guards can now look at your social media, and if they don't like your political lean vis-a-vis criticizing the government / Trump, which are, you know, they are one and the same, whether you like it or not, whether, you know, everybody kind of hates Trump on both sides of the river, you know, the numbers are showing, but he is the government. Yeah. So if I say I hate Trump, which I do, I don't like him. Like I think that I can cover him objectively, you know, in my other capacity on the station and stuff, but I don't like the things that he's doing. So if I say as a blanket statement that I hate him, I don't respect him, I don't like him, then that could be used to prevent me from having free passage across the border.
It's crazy too, because like, again, we're recording this on what, Thursday, Friday. Don Lemon was just arrested literally within the last hour for covering what's happening in Minnesota. And us traveling across, like, again, I'm going across the border. You go across the border all the time. I'm going all across the border. If they get access to my social media, like, there's no way in heck they're letting me over. They might even arrest me. Like, I don't know. It's scary times that we live in. I think it's important to highlight the fundamental difference between how our governments operate in Canada, and by our governments, I'm referring to Canada and the United States. We have separation of branches, and I believe the States does too. So, like, if we look back to what happened with Jody Lynn Raybould and Justin Trudeau, and the reason that she resigned, was asked to resign / kicked out of caucus, is because the Justin Trudeau overstepped his authority and directed our Attorney General to do something. Our judicial branch is completely separate from the executive branch, from the government itself. So by them overstepping and telling them to investigate is a break, or is a breach in our Constitution. And I'm pretty sure that applies in America. Like, I'll do some fact checking as well, but they're almost structured the same way. How this is happening is just beyond me. Like, everything that we've learned within the last year or so is how much of a lie or fairy tale it is about a Western democracy, that you get one person in there, and all the systems that have been put in place, all the checks and balances, all the rules, all the policies just fall. They just break down. We have federal judges issuing blocking Trump. He's ignoring those blocks. We have state judges doing the same thing, local judges doing the same thing, and he's just overstepping them. Right? He literally murdered people, like killed people in when was it? Well, the people who were on the ships, like executed them. Like, what? Who in this world has that authority? Who in this world has that power? It's, yeah. I don't want to sound all dark and gloomy, but like, I mean, the other fundamental thing too is, like, I'm kind of scared to make this post or this video, because what could be the repercussions for all Indigenous people with the Jay Treaty?
Yeah.
Like, right now, what's happening is a bureaucratic issue. It's a policy issue between the ICE and border officers and Indigenous people. If this gets traction, or if Trump becomes aware of this, who's to say that he's not going to override it? Who's to say he's like, I'm not going to honor the Jay Treaty anymore? So by us even bringing attention to this makes me worried that we have just ruined the last 130 years of precedent, and the last 130 years of all the good work that the Indian Defense League of America has done. Is it America? Indian Defense League of America?
Yeah, the IDLA, yeah. Yeah, no, let me we're nudging up on when we have to take a break for the radio for people watching on the socials or YouTube will continue. But before we head into the radio break, let me just give an outline of what the AFN is saying, and then we'll talk about it on the other side of the pause. The Assembly of First Nations has heard reports that some First Nation citizens have been subjected to increased questioning and detainment by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. The AFN strongly condemns those actions and reaffirms First Nations inherent and J Treaty rights to cross-border mobility. Please note that federal law enforcement may not be familiar with tribal IDs. If an ICE agent does not accept your tribal ID as identification, the Native American Rights Fund recommends that you request to speak to their supervisor. So please escalate the situation. If you do find yourself where you're in a situation where you're dealing with a cop and they don't know what's happening, then try to get to a point where you can talk to somebody, because the letter of the law is still in our favor. But as you were alluding to, that seems like that can change at a moment's notice. Let's hit a pause real quick. Okay, we're back. Here's the funny thing about the rule of law. As we learned, you and I, of course, directly covered 1492 Land Back Lane, where I was wrongfully arrested. And then we provided solidarity support, editorial support, anything we could do. We didn't get out to Wet'suwet'en, but we're sympathetic to the Wet'suwet'en people who had won through the Canadian courts, recognition that their traditional government overruled any sort of elected government on this. So, but I still feel like our rights are this sort of aspirational thing. But Canadian American law, like, sure, Trump can, with the stroke of a pen, put an executive order in that says stop the Indians from crossing and trying to change the birther rights and how that could affect our citizenship as Indigenous peoples, as First Nations peoples with our rights. But it still doesn't change the fact that, like, our rights and Canadian and American law affirm this. Our rights exist outside of the body politic of Canada and the United States. But right now, holy hell, is it hella hard when even their own rights don't seem to be being followed and are arbitrarily set aside. And so it's tough. I'm not sure what advice would you give to somebody if they were going to cross the border right now, in light of sort of knowing what we know about everything and even your own experiences?
I mean, my biggest advice would be to comply with, and it breaks my heart to say that I hate authority, but I mean, is to comply. Use the language that's identified in the J Treaty. So it often says North American Indian. So when I ask you what country are you a citizen of, you would identify as a North American Indian. You pass the status card, and if they ask for your blood quantum, you hand over your blood quantum. This is the other thing, is like blood quantums. So for the Haudenosaunee, specifically Six Nations, they have this whole process and where you can get your blood quantum. It's documented. They go back generation to generation, very well documented. Some of these other nations, again, we have the luxury of living in Niagara. We have the luxury of having the IDLA here. Some of these other nations that are west of here, so you get into Quebec, you get into Winnipeg, Manitoba and Saskatchewan and Alberta. They don't have that, right? Yeah. So they may not even have these blood quantum letters, because maybe their people didn't cross. I don't know the specific cases. So get it if you have it. Not every First Nations person has the luxury of getting it, and that's the fundamental thing. And then if you're detained, then that's, you have to. The other thing that I'd recommend is have a backup plan. If you are detained, figure out who you're going to call, right? Because if they detain you, they don't recognize your identification. A lot of our people don't have passports.
Yeah.
So then this actually becomes an immigration issue, right? If our status cards, our tribal ID is no longer good enough, no longer seen as valid.
Yeah.
And the only acceptable identification is that passport. Does this become a law, international issue? Is this against the law? Like, could we be held in custody? I don't know.
Well, this is that, and I guess I want to sort of answer the question I asked you to answer as well, and I have two answers, and one answer is, like, in terms of, if someone says, Karl, I need to cross the border, what's your advice? And my advice is still, like you said, to make sure that you are asserting your Indigenous identity. First Nations and tribal Native Americans have protected rights, and both Canada doesn't do as good a job recognizing it, but there are provisions within the law. It is legally recognized in both Canada and the United States that there are rights that cross over. But in particular, the United States does affirm that they follow the Jay Treaty, and so you do have the right to cross. So that's the thing. Now, in terms of the risk level, that's a calculation you have to make. And I won't carry a passport with me across the border. I won't carry a Canadian or American passport when I cross that border. I just won't. And I have been detained at the border when it came to a matter of attempting to bring my cousin his cigarettes over, and I was wrongfully detained by Canadian Customs, and they illegally seized, I believe, the cigarettes that I had to write. It's tobacco, and they say that tobacco is federally protected in Canadian law, and so they took my cousin's cigarettes, and I say that it's protected by traditional law, and that even though I fully admit that the intent was to smoke the cigarettes, that it's still tobacco, and that's still a protected good that should be protected by our people. I'm willing to do that. I was willing to be detained. I was willing to put myself in a situation where people with firearms are climbing through my vehicle, looking at every single thing that I own in that vehicle. I'm willing to do that. Similarly, headed to the United States, I don't have a choice. As I've said on air, my dad lives over there. I love him. I am part of his caretaking network, so I could have to go there in an emergency. Not often. He's super self-sufficient, but I have to be aware that that's on the radar, and so I have to go over. And so, but I'll only do it with our ID. Now, for other people, I'm not judging you. Like you have to do what you have to do to protect yourself. And some people are more vulnerable than myself. But I also like, listen, man, like our people have been blocking roads and have been resisting, and it arches over into all the narratives around ICE that I know you also have a lot of thoughts on. Everyone's talking about Renee Nicole Good as they should be. Everybody's talking about Alex Pretty as they should be. But like also not white people have been dying for a long time throughout this ICE thing. And honestly, before Trump, even this has been Democrats have ruled over, while ICE and other law enforcement people have been killing Black people, our people, Hispanic people, Latinx people, like all the different. So I don't know. I don't know if you want to sort of keep talking about the Jay Treaty, or if you want to segue over and talk about ICE is a whole nother man. Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're one and the other. Like, what's happening with ICE, which is what is the acronym? Customs Enforcement.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
Yeah, Immigration and Customs Enforcement is absolutely insane. I was reading this article today where there are 5 ICE agents five ICE offices that exist inside of Canada, outside of the traditional boundaries. So I think immigration enforcement in the States and Canada have a jurisdiction of it's either 100 kilometers or 100 miles. These offices exist outside of that boundary, outside of that radius. Why is this happening? Why would the Canadian government give them that level of authority, especially what's happening in Minnesota right now? Like, we saw the execution of Alex Pretty. We did. That was straight up an execution. They took his gun. The moment his gun was gone, the guy shot him in the back of the head. You can see on camera after the bullets were stopped. There's an ICE official clapping as if he's happy, as if he's joyous, as if they just did this good thing. It again, it's scary. Like, my son lives over there. My son's in Pittsburgh right now, living there, and I stay awake every night hoping that he's fine. But you don't know, right? You don't know where the government's going to go. You don't know where these officials are going to go to. Because the other fundamental issue with ICE is that their training program historically, I think, is 24 weeks. So they have to be in the program for 24 weeks. And they've condensed it to 12 weeks. So they're getting half of the education as normal. But on top of that, they were at least getting direction from the guy who looks like he's from the Nazi regime to arrest on site. If somebody touches you, to arrest, which again is contrary to best practices. Like, how weird it is to be taking the side with authorities' best practices. Like that just sounds weird to me that we would take this side, follow the law. Like I find it terrifying knowing that I'm finally conceding that. But what I'm saying is that the government is overstepping their rights and they're giving immunity, federal immunity, to people who aren't properly trained, to people also who have been identified as white supremacists, who are part of these groups who've been labeled as terrorist organizations. All these Proud Boys are now members of ICE.
There's so much to untangle when it comes to Minnesota, ICE, the templates that have been laid. You look at the history of the Black Panthers, you look at the history of the American Indian movement founded by Indigenous women and men in Minnesota and other places, specifically to combat the kinds of things that happen, that authorities perpetuate on our people and on other people made to be vulnerable. I think we can untangle that, but let's just hit a pause for a second. Unless you're watching a video, then it could be weird for you while we pretend to take a break. Radio people, we'll be right back. Commercials. Okay, we're back.
I'm glad you got that reference.
Party time. Wayne's okay, yeah.
That's how I'm crossing the border. Is when Wayne goes to the back room. I'm going to show up with my status card when he has a VIP passes to see what's the name. Which is, it's funny because at that scene when he's seeing when he's going to see the performer, I forget his name.
Alice Cooper.
When he goes to see Alice Cooper, Alice Cooper goes on this rant about Milwaukee being an Indigenous word.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Al Bundy has a scene where he talks about, like, in the donut shop, he talks about the person who gets killed in the cold and their body, like, as the steam comes out of their body, it's a representation of, like, Native Americans believing that the spirit is leaving. And I'm like, that's super racist, but it's so well done. I don't know.
Can I both hate and love you at the same time?
Right? Is that, like, I don't, like, I mean, it's Al Bundy too. Yeah. So, like,
okay, if one of our people said that, I'm gonna pass. But I don't know.
I don't know. So no, like, I want to say for the American Indian movement that I never want to minimize the death of Anna Mae Aquash, and that I always want to center the voices of Anna Mae Aquash's family. And so I want to be careful about not putting a lot of those guys on a pedestal. I do give credit to, I was doing a little bit of research, and I think we could do a whole show talking about the American Indian movement and the role that Minnesota has played. So, but I was researching for something along those lines, and credit to the City of Minnesota Historical Society that made a point to center the women that were behind the founding of the American Indian movement. And we know, being Friendship Center babies, like, you take women out of this movement and there just is no movement.
Yeah.
So, and it sounds like it's very much the same in the States. So, but you've got this, like, the other thing is, like, this town where the legendary Prince is from, and, like, all this other, like, it's this town with this, like, wicked history. But I also, unfortunately, mean wicked in the tough sense. I mean, we still, our tears haven't dried from the death of George Floyd, and we still haven't really recovered again from the trauma of why we needed a name in the first place, why we needed Black Panthers in the first place. And now here we are, and I'm citing Guardian reporting on this, that 8 people. So in addition to, as I mentioned earlier in the show, Alex Pretty and Renee Nicole Good being died after having dealings with ICE, there are 8 total people who have died. And it's important to recognize that we are talking about Latin folks, and we are talking about folks from racialized communities that have died here, in addition to 2 white people. So I just want to be careful, because there is a well-placed righteous outrage that's happening right now, and I want everybody on that gets this, but I don't want to forget about Rodney King was killed right before our eyes on video. and we use the manipulation of the truth to acquit the officers that beat that man to death. The revolution will not be televised. Yet, here we are. And so Alex Pretty, to take that full circle, Stephen Miller writes on X, a domestic terrorist tried to assassinate federal law enforcement. And that's just not what happened. We were being lied to as members of the public. White people are now being lied to as well. We've always been lied to. The whole Wet'suwet'en pipeline or 1492 land back lane. The law enforces what the land defenders have done. Or the actual constitutional law enforces that the Wet'suwet'en and Haudenosaunee have these rights. Yet the rule of law, the law of the minute, the police are killing Renee Good and they're killing Alex Pretty and they're killing Latinx community members. And so I just think that we need to continue to have these conversations. We need to make sure that we're mourning these people. We need to make sure that we are standing up against these authorities. What else do we need to be doing to push back?
I so very much like you, I don't want to. I want to highlight the deaths and the people who this administration has impacted the most. Like, fundamentally, we need to understand that what's happening right now in the United States is designed to affect racialized people. It's really that simple. If you look like you're not from America, meaning if you have brown skin, you have black skin, you have a bit of an accent, you are going to be impacted by this. So it's very important to note that this is specifically designed to affect racialized and marginalized people. However, shout out to my white allies, shout out to my non-Indigenous, non-racialized, non-marginalized allies who are there, who are doing that work, right? Like, the reason why I'll mourn Alex Pretty is because he fundamentally was doing what we ask of our allies to do, to use your power. Use your power. I lost my train of thought.
Well, I mean, people are pushing for the kind of change we need to see. What I think is important is that I'm worried about succumbing to the narrative that like, you hear a lot about this civil war, and you hear this a lot from politicians, and how the United States is being split into. The United States has been divided. We are from a people who have been divided. As someone that's seen violence as a tool of self-defense in the case of land defenders, I think that people need to be more careful with their rhetoric. I frankly have zero appetite for mainstream politicians talking about a civil war when they're not on the ground. Listen, if racialized people are saying have my back and it's time, then I'm there.
Yeah.
For people that are in leadership positions, people in media, editorialists, commentators, elected politicians, to be talking about civil war, I think that's terribly irresponsible, because our lives are made to be violent by these systems that are already in place, and this happened long before ICE. Now ICE is illustrating how violent the system is, and I mean, I don't want to minimize Trump, and I don't want to minimize the risk of what's happening in the United States of America, but we had this conversation with George Floyd about, can we have less people with firearms in our schools, on our streets? And Democrats, Republicans, Bernie Sanders, everybody had the chance at that point to advance those conversations, and we never finished them. And now it's gotten much worse. So Trump's bad, but we've given him the tools. We are down to, unfortunately, Sean, we're up on time. We got about 2 minutes left. So I don't know if do you want to give us a traveling thought and the week?
Yeah.
Here's a huge idea, by the way. You have 10 seconds. Now go.
I think that, and this is going to sound harsh and it's probably going to get me in trouble, but in order for this to stop, more white people are going to have to die. It's really that simple. Our people have been dying time and time again since before Confederation, since before the United States fought England. Our people have been murdered. And when society finds themselves in a position where it's non-racialized people dying, they seem to care a little more. I don't fault them for that. I wish that you would care more for our people. Wish you'd care more for other racialized people. But if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. Two non-racialized people died, and the world has erupted. What's going to take is more non-indigenous people, more non-marginalized people to that. Unfortunately, unless we do something now, it's really simple. Unless we stand up now, assert our rights, stand up for what is fundamentally right. What is justice? Right? Ask yourself this: what is justice? Justice is not about the rule of law. Justice is about what is fundamentally right. I guess that's my last little blurb.
We've been seeing Sean and I are trying to talk about the things that are happening as they happen, which means that these videos aren't always being released, but of course right on Saturday mornings. But of course you can listen to our show on Saturday mornings. I've been seeing the comments on the videos. I don't know if you've been taking a chance, but our videos are getting a pretty good amount of feedback, Sean. So I think that you and I can set some time aside. If you comment on this video, we will address them on air. Of course, if you're texting the show, I collect those when I come in and do the Sunday morning weekend edition show too. So that's a lot of words for don't be shy to give us feedback. This is a conversation that even if Sean and I frame it imperfectly, or we've said something that's upset you or that you disagree with, let us know and we'll either push back and go, no, we're right and you're wrong. Or if you're bringing something to our attention that we're not aware of, we want to get it right.
Yeah, and I misspeak all the time. I really do. So feel free to bring it up. However, I like to think that I'm an athlete. And one of the rules when you participate in any sport is if you have an issue and you feel like it needs to be addressed right now, just wait that 24 hours. Give it that time. Let yourself cool down. Let yourself think.
No, comment now. It's better when it's.
You want to come now? You want them to comment now?
Yeah, I'll comment now. Yeah, comment now. Yeah, bring. Like I feel like it's more raw and honest that way. Yeah. If people do it. So yeah, like if you're mad at us and you want to beat us up, then definitely wait 24 hours.
Yeah.
But if we said something that's upset you in the video, let's unpack it. Let's lean into the hard stuff. The hard thing is that we're out of time. So I'm gonna leave it there for now. Sean, it's been a slice having you on the show. Everybody who is listening, we really, really, really appreciate and love you. We wouldn't be able to do this without you. We'll be back. Nagit was Swagweg.
I love you guys.